Welcome back to a special edition of Ask Jeb, because on this edition it's Ask Jeb and Jahmie. Jahmie Lynn is one of our top contributors on Sales Gravy University, who focuses on wellness, on mental health, on taking care of your body, self-care, which is super important for salespeople today because we have busy jobs that are full of stress and anxiety. Now, before we get started, I want you to go check out Sales Gravy University, where if you've never taken a course before, you can take one of Jahmie's courses absolutely free by using the code FREECOURSE. Go to learn.salesgravy.com, learn.salesgravy.com, and experience the most powerful sales training engine on earth for yourself. All right, let's go.
Our next question comes from Natalie Brooks out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm in sales leadership, and one thing I've noticed is how emotions impact my team's performance, especially under pressure. What are some practical ways to help myself and my reps regulate energy and emotions during tough selling days?
I love that question.
That's a packed question.
I love that question. When you are dysregulated emotionally, or your nervous system is dysregulated, focusing on anything is nearly impossible. So I love that this question is even being asked, because it shows how actually important it is. As a leader, you have a responsibility to create a space where you and your employees feel safe enough to regulate. There's a lot of different ways to regulate, either personally or as a team, but the safety and the importance of the regulation, I think, is the most important part. Some things that you can do together as a team are midday reboots, midday resets, bring everybody together into a shared area and just take a few deep breaths, or do some kind of fun activity that just gets out those nerves or the tension from the day. And it shows, even if it happens every single day, whoever shows up, but it shows that that's important to the office itself. And it shows that there's a space that can create that level of regulation.
So I would, as the leader of the team, your people are going to reflect your emotions. So if you are getting hyper emotional, whether it's over the top with enthusiasm or anger and frustration and anxiety, the team's going to feel the exact same thing. And you can't help that. That's just what the situation is as a leader. So what I would say the first thing is if you're having a hard time regulating the emotions of the team, go look in the mirror, because it typically means that you're having a hard time regulating your own emotions. And emotional control is one of the key disciplines of ultra high performance in sales, and it will begin with the leader. Crazy enough, I was having a conversation with one of the leaders on the teams that we coach, a director level leader, talking about one of his sales managers whose team was reflecting his emotions in the moment, and the work that we're doing to try to fix that problem so that the team is more even keel and feels more confident. So I would start there. The second thing with salespeople is, and I don't know if you've noticed this as a salesperson, and I this is a generalization, but salespeople are freaking crazy. Like
What?
they're
No.
crazy, because sales is the most emotional job in business. So one of the things you want to think about, both as a seller and a leader, is what are the outlets that you're using to release some of the emotion? Because we're not going to remove the stress and the anxiety from selling. And by the way, that's part of the reason why people do selling, because it's the same anxiety or stress that you would feel if you were jumping out of an airplane or climbing a rock wall. It's the adrenaline rush of selling, but you need to have an outlet, a safe and healthy outlet for letting that go. So I'm a big fan of Top Golf. We did this as a team just recently. We went to Top Golf and hit some golf balls and laughed, and we need to do more of that as a team. But what can you do as a team to go out and have a good time and experience each other and let go some of that emotion, so that when you come back in the office, you're starting with a clean slate?
Yeah, I love that. You're looking at three different areas. One is every so often doing some kind of team building activity outside, emotional release. The other is daily regulation in the office. And then the third thing is personal regulation. All three so important. And there's courses on Sales Gravy University on how to regulate some of those emotions. So check them out.
All right. Our next question comes from Jordan Lee out of San Diego, California. Hey, Jeb and Jahmie, sometimes I can tell a deal is wrong for me, but I still push forward because it looks good on paper. Later, I regret it. Jahmie, you talk about intuition, and Jeb, you talk about qualifying. How can I learn to trust my gut and still follow the sales process?
Personal value plays a big role here because if you feel like your value is attached to everything that you say yes to or make an agreement to, then you will feel like you need to perform in order to be valued, feel like you're enough, feel worthy. And I'm saying it casually, but it really is kind of a deeper concept here. If you can look at yourself as being someone who is enough, whether or not you say yes to something, then it shows that you're willing to trust yourself, trust your instinct, your intuition, that gut feeling. We've all had it. Like, think of a time where you kind of, someone said, "Hey, do you want to do this thing?" Immediately, within a second, you knew it was a no. But for whatever reason, if you wanted to make them happy or you felt like you had to or you didn't want to let someone down, you say yes. You go against your own guide, your own feeling, your own body that's telling you it's a no, and you lose trust within yourself. And when you break down or it doesn't go well, you're mad at the situation, but really it's like, who are you actually mad at? You're mad at yourself for not listening to yourself the moment you knew it was a no. So it does take a lot of courage to practice this, but it is so worth it because if you can feel that feeling and then move with it instantly and unwaveringly, then you will build that confidence in yourself and everything you do, and it'll start to reflect in how you show up.
Every choice you make is a trade-off in sales. So the choice to work on a deal that you're not going to close, is the wrong fit for you, is a choice not to work on a deal that is a fit for you and that you can close. And we have to start with that, right? So you're just making choices. And when we look at ultra high performing salespeople, one of their core disciplines is probability discipline, because ultra high performing salespeople recognize that they only have so many hours in a day, and that to maximize their value, their success, their income, they need to use those hours on the highest probability activities. So the highest probability activity is a deal you can close. The greatest waste for you as a sales, or time waste for you as a salesperson, is spending it on a deal that is a low qualified or a low probability deal. Now, probability can be qualification standards or it can be fit standards. Sometimes you can work on a customer that's just a wrong fit for you and your company. You can close it, but it's going to waste a lot of your time on the back end and it's not going to be very much fun. The beautiful thing about sales is that you can choose who you want to sell to. So you have that choice. But when we talk about qualifying, is having the discipline to look at all of the data points, and rather than thinking that you can be the one hero that can bring this deal and close it, you've got a set of data points and you say, if this deal doesn't cross this threshold for me, I'm just not going to work on it. So you actually create a rule that you can live by rather than thinking about intuition. I just say, it's got to have these things before I'm going to put it in my pipeline and work on it. And when you look at ultra high performers, that's exactly what they do. They are very, very fast to walk away from a deal. They'll exit a deal that's probably closable, but if they look at it and say, it just does not meet my probability threshold, I'm not going to work on it. And by the way, that's how I play the entire game of sales. Everything I do in sales is a chessboard. Everything. It's calculated based on probability. And I will ditch a deal so quick, it'll make your head spin. Sometimes it just baffles people, but I'm like, this thing's not going to close. I'm walking. And I just walk and I'm done. And I don't have to I feel like nothing for it because I also have the trust in myself that I can go out and get more deals. If you don't have the trust in yourself that you can go out and get another opportunity, then you'll spend and waste your time on a deal you'll never close or it's the wrong fit because you don't want to go do the work to build your pipe. But if you become a fanatical prospector and you build your pipe, then you've always got more there. You have more options. You have alternatives. You can walk away. So it really begins at that. But it is a internal decision that you have to make, that I am not going to work on low probability deals, period. I'm walking. Just that simple.
No, I love that. I mean, to hit that level of qualifying, it's also truly understanding your ICP, so the ideal customer profile, because that's where you would develop that checklist to
Yes.
identify it quicker.
And this is just a gratuitous book plug, but if you want to really dive into ICP and building your ideal client profile and understanding those data points, I have a brand new book coming out in October called The LinkedIn Edge. You can get it right now. The entire front section of that book is focused on building out that ICP and understanding those qualifying points, as well as in Sales EQ. There is an entire section in Sales EQ on multiple different qualifying methodologies and the non-box qualifier that we use with our clients when we're coaching them to build out what a good fit looks like, what good technical fit looks like, what a good pipeline opportunity in terms of who you're dealing with in the organization looks like.
Our final question comes to us from Jeff Velez in Atlanta, Georgia. How do you prepare your mindset and create the discipline to effectively prospect every day? So, Jahmie, I'll let you take this first, and then Jeb will follow up.
So I first and foremost would look at your why. Like, what's your reason? What's your purpose? If you don't have a why, a reason that you are doing this, it will be very hard to stay motivated. So that can be anything. Why do you want to be successful? Maybe it's so that you can be a good husband, a good father, a good mom, a good whatever it is. That is going to drive you in the moments that you don't feel like doing it. You're tired, you're exhausted, you're questioning what you're doing. If you can look at what your purpose is beyond just the success, why do you want to be successful? I think that will be your biggest motivator. I also think your daily habits outside of work are going to support you in this. So, to have a sharp and focused mindset, things like sleep, things like what you're eating, things like emotional regulation, human connection, stress management, all of those things are so important so that you are at your top shape. You're physically, mentally, energetically at your best. So the last thing you have to think about really is staying motivated because you're already killing your workouts, you're already doing your meditations, you're already showing up at home in a really positive way. And so of course you can support yourself in staying motivated too.
So let's build on that. So let's talk about a couple of things here, and you pick and choose what's going to work for you. So number one would be exactly what you said. Prospecting requires discipline, and discipline is defined as sacrificing what you want now for what you want most. So if you've got to get up in the morning and do something that frankly nobody wants to do, like you don't want to prospect, it's kind of like working out. You don't want to work out. Kind of like eating well. I don't want to eat well. I'd rather have a Big Mac than eat a handful of strawberries. Whatever the case is, it requires discipline to do those things. Well, if it requires discipline to do those things, if you don't have something you're willing to sacrifice for, you're not going to do it. So, as a sales rep, start with a firm set of goals. What is it that you want? What is your why? And then focus on that. When I'm prospecting, I'm not focusing on prospecting, I'm focusing on what prospecting does for me, because success in sales is paid for in advance with prospecting. You have to do it first. You have to prospect before you get success. So I would start there. The second thing is, what's your identity? Like, if are you a person who sometimes prospects? Are you a person who prospects when you only have to prospect because your pipeline's empty? Or are you a person who gets up every day and prospects for an hour every day? You define what your identity is and you have to say it out loud. So you say things like, I am a person who gets up in the morning and prospects. So for me, I don't particularly like to work out. I just don't. But I go, I'm a person who walks a minimum of 7,500 steps a day, every day. And you say that to yourself out loud. Now, you might not even believe it, but just say it. And you have to assume that identity. I'm a person who prospects every single day. And then finally, when you start thinking about your mindset and what you believe and your whole, I guess, your whole value system around prospecting, you have to, as you think about your identity, you have to think about like, okay, what is it that I value as a person? Like, do I value showing up every day and being consistent? Do I value being a team member that contributes to my pipeline? Do I value having peace of mind versus anxiety and stress? Because there are some people that they don't prospect because they enjoy having an empty pipeline because they like jumping out of airplanes. And even though they're miserable, they enjoy that level of stress at some level. And are you almost dysfunctional in the way that you focus on prospecting? But the truth is that prospecting stinks. Nobody really likes to do it. And if you're sitting around looking for like the kumbaya moment that you're going to jump into it, it's probably not going to happen for you, but you have to figure those things out. A couple of the things that I think about when it comes to prospecting that go beyond sort of the touchy-feely part is understanding what process goals are. So a lot of times what happens is we get up in the morning, we look at our pipeline, look at prospecting, we're overwhelmed because we're thinking about all the prospecting we have to do versus thinking about, okay, every morning when I get up, I'm gonna make 25 outbound calls and then I'm done. And you're focusing on the process goals. So you're focusing on the cause rather than the result, because you start thinking, well, what if I don't get this? And all I think about is, what if I make 25 calls? If nothing happens for me this morning, fine, I'll do it again tomorrow, but it'll pay off for me. So I would focus on those things. And finally, I would go back and go into the archives of Sales Gravy podcast and listen to the BTN episodes. It's probably our I probably most listened to episode of 2025. It's a fun episode, but it's called Better Than Nothing. So as you start thinking about getting into the mindset of prospecting, what if some mornings you're just not into it? I mean, what if you just wake up and go, I just don't feel it? We all do that. I woke up yesterday morning and thought to myself, I'm going to walk down to the gym and work out. And you know what I did? I rolled over and got 30 minutes more sleep, and I didn't go work out because I just wasn't feeling it. Now, that afternoon, I didn't have a whole lot of time, but I went and walked one loop around my block, which is a mile. I did that. Better than nothing. I did something better than nothing, because if you wake up and think every day I have to feel good about this, you're probably lying to yourself. But if you wake up every day and say, I'm a person, back to identity, who never rolls a zero. In other words, there's never going to be a day where I do zero prospecting. Even if I have to make 5 calls or 2 calls or what have you, I'm always going to do something. What'll happen is you'll get what one of our colleagues, Keith Lubner, who's on the Sales Gravy team, calls sales endorphins, right? You do a little bit every day, and that begins to add up. You take advantage of the law of cumulative impact. A little bit every day adds up over time. So you made 5 calls a day over the course of a week. You made what, 25 calls? That's better than nothing, right? So you start doing a little bit every day. As you start doing those things, you feel better. So yesterday I did 1 mile loop. Last night I did a lot of work because I felt a lot better about myself. I felt like I could go. So the same thing happens with prospecting, but this is for everybody listening. If you're or watching, like, if you're looking for inspiration that's going to drive you to like love prospecting, you're looking in all the wrong places. It is not going to be there. Prospecting is the grind and drudgery of sales, but the number one reason for failure in sales is an empty pipeline. And the number one reason why you have an empty pipeline is you're not prospecting. So it's a job that, even though you don't want to do it and you're looking for some kumbaya moment that's going to make you want to do it, the fact is that that's never going to happen. You have to make the internal intentional choice to step into prospecting because you have to do it, and recognize that you are a human being, you are fallible, and you are not always going to have the same level of motivation. But do these things we talked about, and at least every single day, you'll be on the path of doing some work. And in the days that you feel great, you'll do tons. And the days you don't feel great, you'll do a little bit, but you'll never do nothing.
And emotion is just energy in motion. And if you're waiting for the right emotion to want to do something, you can be waiting all day long. You're not going to want to do it. But if you can redirect your emotion towards your why, like you were saying, or being the kind of person who does this, then you don't you don't need the motivation energy. You can get the energy from something else and then just show up and do it.
That's a really good point. I'm working on a new book. And this morning I woke up early and I went and got my cup of coffee and I got on my phone and I started, dialing through my news feed, and I'm like, I need to write. I need to get something done. So I put it down reluctantly, grabbed my computer, and I'm like, I'm just going to write 3 paragraphs. So at least I say I did something. And I started writing. And then as I started writing, because I'm on a deadline, and that's my why at the moment, is I'm the person who hits my deadlines. But as I started writing, it got easier. And the more I did of it, it got easier. And I ended up writing 3 chapters this morning, which was nice, before I came for the podcast. So I think what you said is right. Like, sometimes if you are waiting for the emotion, you're waiting too long. Sometimes you have to create the emotion through your action. Very good advice. I like that.
No, I love that. And to add to what both of you said, recently I read something somewhere and it goes along with the better than nothing. Your body and yourself are going to go to the most recent thing that you trained. So if you train to the point where you just gave up, you've got to break that habit. But if you continue to train to a better spot, that's what you're going to remember. That's like your muscle memory, your reflex to
I
it.
love that. And by the way, at the end of the day, when you are worn out, tired, into your prospecting block, when you don't want to do anymore, the moment when you think, I can't stand to make another prospecting call, another touch, whatever, just will yourself to do one more. And that's what will push you over the edge. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you to our host, Ashley Blount over here, who read us the questions and added some color. Jahmie Lynn, our contributor on Sales Gravy University, our wellness and health and self-care contributor who you got to go take her courses. These are the things that will help you center yourself and get yourself ready to perform. And I'm Jeb Blount, the host of the Sales Gravy podcast and Ask Jeb and Ask Jahmie. And thank you for joining us, and make sure that you go check out Sales Gravy University, learn.salesgravy.com, learn.salesgravy.com, and use the code free course. If you've never taken a course before, you might want to go check out one of Jahmie's courses. You can pick any course you want on the platform with your code, because we know you're going to love it and you'll come back for more. See you next time on the Sales Gravy podcast. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to click like and subscribe so you never miss a single video. And if you want more sales training content, go to learn.salesgravy.com.